Hey guys, enter the stars. We're going to take a look at the film Terminator, Genisys, that released at the exact halfway point in the year. Now, there are some strange synchronicities already within this film. We see that not only did it release at the exact halfway point in the year, that happened to match the release date of Rihanna's video, BBHMM. We also see the 84 that was also repeated in her video. Remember, there are 84 days in between July 1st and September 23rd. We established that in Rihanna's video. And half of 84 is 42. That's that rainbow number that we've been talking about, that all rainbows can only be viewed at 42 degrees. So this Terminator Genisys dovetails perfectly with the Rihanna video, Be Better Have My Money. It has the 1984, which is in the plot of the film, just like the 84 days from July 1st to September 23rd. So the question is, what do these elite have planned? Now, here's what's interesting. Sarah explains to Kyle that the Guardian was sent to protect her from the T-1000 in 1973, where the Terminator's arrival altered history. This is the year I was born, but more importantly, it's been 42 years since 1973. There's your 42 again, half of 84. And they know what they're doing here, because if you look at the June 22nd release date, which was the alternate release date, it has 173. It was the 173rd day of the year. So there's your 73. So they know exactly what is going on here. Now the anti-date of the June 22nd date is July 11th. It is the 192nd day of the year with 173 left. So that's 7/11, which is 77. And guess what Hebrew year is the last year of Obama's presidency? It is the Hebrew year 5777. And guess what else? The Hebrew year of 1984 is 5744. Barack Obama is the 44th president. And this is how they arrange these films. This is what we're dealing with. This isn't just entertainment. There is something going on below the surface of these films, because these trends, these synchronicities occur throughout Hollywood, every single film. So I have a bootleg copy of this. I'm going to do screenshots, and we're going to try to decode this film, you guys. Let's take a look. Now we know that Michael Jackson died 88 days after the 88th day of the year, and they mention his birthday in the Terminator film as the day in 1997 of when Skynet took on a mind of its own and destroyed the planet. Now why is that significant? Because this film is all about time travel, and we have discovered that the number 88 represents time. So Michael Jackson dying 88 days after the 88th day of the year, and also his birthday being showcased in this film in the opening sequence about when Skynet destroyed the planet, that has significance. Now, let me demonstrate to you how deep this goes. In this film, they show the destruction of San Francisco. They show the Golden Gate Bridge as well. So I looked at the Golden Gate Bridge, and what I discovered was that construction began in 1933, but it opened and ended in 1937. The opposite of the 1973, in which part of this film takes place. But the 37-73 does not stop there. It was constructed at the 37th North parallel. It is the actual physical location. And then we have the 4,200 feet. And this was the longest suspension bridge in the world at 4,200 feet. So there's our half of 84 again. Now remember, a rainbow can only be viewed at 42 degrees. 42 degrees is also the angle to the center of the lens of your eye. I'll say that again. 42 degrees is the angle to the center of the lens of your eye. So there's something about this number that is significant and special, and I'm sure we'll see more of it throughout this film. Now, we've been talking a lot about the lens-shaped Earth and us living in the universe inside the eye. Now, obviously, I've not seen this film before we made all these discoveries, but here we have a great example of the imagery that we have been talking about over the last 3 weeks before this film released. The Terminator unit comes up, is birthed out of the clones. We talked about the inside of the eye being like the inside of the womb, and that the retina here in the back is like the placenta, and the child is inside, but this child is born right side up instead of upside down. This is the iris. We are born into sin, the false light, as our eye looks outward, and this person is anti, he's upside down. A child is born innocent, and therefore they have the halo, the crown. But as soon as they pass through the womb, they are born into sin. Do you see how that works? This is simply fascinating. The iris is the cervix, contracting and retracting, letting out light into the world. And this image right here says it all. Another shot of the T unit standing inside the eye, on top of the lens. It's simply unbelievable. I can't even believe that we're watching this right now. This is just unbelievable. Everything we've been talking about, you guys. But you see, what we just saw was not a man being born. It was this T unit being sent back to prevent him from being born. And so again, he is born into another time. And that's what they're showing us in this film. And of course, the rest of the story is history. This is the scene, the opening scene from the original Terminator, as he goes back to 1984 from that time machine device that looks like the inside of the eye. 1984, the Hebrew year 5744, we get the international dump truck dumping the trash, and here comes Arnold Schwarzenegger. The driver says, "What the hell?" And then Satan falls like lightning from heaven. So Arnold arrives on May 12th in 1984 as the Terminator. And so they send Kyle Reese back in their own Terminator time machine to intercept the Terminator so he does not kill the mother of John Connor. May 12th is the 133rd day of the year with 233 left in leap years. We just talked about the number 33 and how it relates to all this. Hiding in plain sight. Now I want you to take a long, hard look at this time machine and see the similarities of the inner eye. This is the lens. This outside structure is the inside cavity of the eye. And looking down this way is looking out. The night sky being up here on the surface, the inner surface of this structure, as it curves up and back around. This is the eye. They're showing us, but 99% of the people will not understand this. You understand it here because you've been given eyes to see. So the question becomes, why are they encoding this stuff in these films when nobody will understand it? And it's because by spiritual law, they have to tell part of the truth to tell their lie. Here we get a better shot, and you can see the stars, how the stars look in the sky, where they, at the equator, they go straight out. But then we get the star spin, and you can kind of see that in the structure of this room where this is encased here. Here's a great shot of the star spin at the equator. This room represents the night sky. We get the twin opposed vortexes. This is one spinning off in one direction. And here is the money shot. These are scenes that there's no possible way we could have known. I mean, look at this. Here's the lens, but it's inverted. This is the back of the contact lens of the eye. This is the inner eye. I hope you guys are seeing this. This is simply unbelievable. He steps into the eye, steps onto the platform. We get the inverted lens. It's really the opposite. They never show you the complete truth. They show you opposites of the truth. So this lens shaped is actually this way. And that's the surface we live on. Now watch this. And of course, this is the iris, but everything's backwards because this iris should be below. Everything's flipped around, but this is the iris which lets in the light. You can see the light. Everything we've been talking about, you guys. Every single thing. This is unbelievable. So Kyle Reese encounters the first Terminator, and it's the metallic form. We talked about the metallic reflection. And we see the effect here as this thing morphs out of the glass here. This is the reflection we see in the night sky. Terminator's license plate 999 is 666. Here we get the 42-degree angle that frames the center of the lens eye. The very same 42-degree angle at which we can view a rainbow in the shadow of the time machine, which represents the inner eye. Now, the transhumanism theme is strong in this film, as Sarah Connor bonds with the Terminator. Talks about when she was 9 years old, the Terminator saved her life and would always protect her, and she felt like he was the only person that she could trust. These kinds of films are meant to give you sympathy and to humanize the unhuman, which is an abomination to God, because all that is unhuman comes from one place, and that is Lucifer. Now, earlier in this decode, we mentioned the number 77. We identified that number in the synchronicity in this film. We also compared that to the Hebrew year 5777, when Barack Obama will be out of office as president. In this very scene, they are in the year 5777 in the year 2017. We talked about the 44 synchronicity, the Hebrew year 5744, which is 1984, which was the previous scene in this movie. Barack Obama being the 44th president. We get lots of lens clues throughout the film. Here they're looking in the reflection of the same exact shape of the eye, the lens surface of the earth. Then they meet up with John Connor, but he's a robot. And he says, "I'm not man and I'm not machine. I'm more." And as I'm saying this, you probably recognize the M's repeated over and over. We saw the M's on the Georgia Guidestone Cube. M represents the number 13. MM is 1313, 26. 226. Gregorian equivalent of Valentine's Day, February 13th, Lupercalia, and February 26th, the World Trade Center bombing of 1993, and its anti-date is Egyptian Valentine's Day, 11/4, 11/3 being the opening of the World Trade Center Freedom Tower in 2014. And in this very scene, John Connor mentions the year 2014. The cyborg John Connor then offers a truce, a marriage, so to speak, with the humans to live in peace moving forward. And of course, they refuse the offer. But this is the sign of the transhumanism, the pre-programming of you to accept the mixing of steel with watery clay, them mingling themselves with the seed of men, as mentioned in the book of Daniel. Then the film is loaded with eye imagery as the two Terminators battle it out. And Lucifer fell like lightning from heaven. They turn on the magnet, and it pulls John Connor, who is the cyborg, back into the lens, Earth, the eye. And this is how Lucifer fell. He's trapped here with us because he caused the fall of the human race. So we see this play out symbolically in this analogy. That is a perfect analogy of what is going on. Now, as I state, 99% of people will not understand this. You guys are seeing this because you're here and you have eyes to see. Let's continue. And in case you had any doubts, the machine that traps him is named Visios. At this point in the dialogue, this man says to John Connor, "This holy grail you have me chasing." And when you take the contact lens shaped earth and you flip it upside down, you get a grail, you get a cup. And the Bible talks extensively about cups of wrath and cups of goodness, and that God's cup will be full when he pours out his wrath upon the earth, because sin is in that cup and it is filled, and those that dealt out the sin will have to drink the cup of the wrath of their sin. And here we see a cup-shaped room as they talk about this device that they're building to travel in time. The inside of the earth, the inside of the eye. Pretty amazing. And of course, they're trying to recreate Genesis and the creation story. They say that it is the dawn of a new age and this will revolutionize technology. And this is what Lucifer wants to do. This is how he wants to elevate himself above the Most High, by integrating steel with watery clay. But the Bible tells us that the two will not cleave, no matter what efforts he has. Genesis, a new Genesis, will not occur. God will intervene. He said if he had not cut those days short, there would be no flesh left. They steal a bus to escape the Terminator, and the bus looks like Tiburon School District, the Tiber River in Rome. Tiber in Spanish means shark. Tiburon was where Robin Williams was from before he supposedly died. Tiburon School District, the shark from I Pet Goat 2. Here Schwarzenegger gets pulled out of the bus by the other Terminator, and he hits the front of another car, the police officer's car, and he says, "Nice to see you. Get out." And you can see that this is shaped like the iris of the eye. This is the eye. I can see you, and that is the joke. Get out. Here's your HH, the two empty helicopter pads. These two are occupied, HH-88. Here the clock is counting down to Genisys offloading or uploading and supposed Judgment Day. As the clock counts down, there are many scenes where the clock is counting down, but this one in particular, I caught the clock counting down, and it says 12:21 just before it goes out of frame. Now the significance of that is that's the date of spiritual conception of Christ. And when you add 38 weeks to that, which is the length of time that a child is in gestation in the womb, you get 9/11 the following year. Now, 2 weeks prior to that, the 40 weeks is the last menstruation. So a child's total gestation is 40 weeks.